This is a quick demonstration of the administration panel in OpenIntel 2. Once you go to GitHub and look at the wiki documentation on deployment, you'll see the prerequisites, which include SQL Server and MapDotNet UX. You can go to this URL to download MapDotNet UX 9.2 or higher, and you'll want to use the MapDotNet UX Studio product to configure your map.net endpoint, which is here in our web.config, as well as our map ID, which is in our web.config. So next I'm going to go into map.net UX Studio and create a map file. I'm just going to call this map file OpenIntel2, give it a projection of spherical Mercator, which is what our data is in, as well as the map. Now I'm going to add a layer. Now to add a layer, I've already got a connection to my SQL Server instance where I have a points of interest layer. I'm going to call it POIs here. That's a point layer. I'm going to turn visibility off, and then I'm going to add a second layer, which is going to be a parcel layer. We're going to use these layers for two different things in the application, and you'll see what that is in just a minute. So for my parcels, I'm going to outline the parcel in a silver gray color. I'm going to go ahead and save that and save my map. So next we're going to go back into Visual Studio and build our application. Stop my debugger and start it again. So when you launch OpenIntel, you can type #admin in the URL, and it will take you into the administration panel. Once you're in the admin panel, it will prompt you for a password. That password is stored in the web.config, and by default it's password. So now we'll add a client layer. A client layer is data that's rendered on the client, and I'm going to choose my points of interest layer that we just set up. The first several text boxes allow you to set information about the layer that will be used in the Rolodex and in the legend. You can search on the description, tags, and the label in the Rolodex. Proximity field allows you to set proximity for when you're doing searching. These next four columns allow you to set when the data is going to be rendered, what zoom levels the data will be rendered at, the bleed ratio so that labels don't get clipped. These next few check boxes that I'm hovering over right now are also used by the renderer to basically say when the data is going to be shown, should we clip to the render bounds or simplify the zoom level. Those last two are more pertinent towards polygon data. You can then set default symbology for your layer. I'm going to choose a red fill color. And then you can click on the columns that you want to show throughout the application. So this uses and formats dialog allows you to say where in the application you want the data to be shown and how that data should be presented. So next I'm going to set an exact classification on my name column. Now I know this points of interest layer has some pharmacies in it, so I'm going to put in Walgreens and CVS here. So now that I have those set, I can actually do a filter in my map. And so let's take a look at that. So now you click on the little map tab in the upper right corner, add your points of interest from your Rolodex, and now you see your data on the map. So first we can set a filter, and I'll filter on name. I've got the two values that we just set in the admin panel. You can also classify on those. So next we'll add a server layer. So with the server layer, these are layers that are rendered by MapDotNet on the server. So you get a bitmap tile back. I'm just going to do parcels here, and that's the second layer that we set up. So I set a bleed ratio. That's to prevent feature clipping when the tiles get rendered on the server. Give it a little description, make it visible by default. So you can have a mix of client layers and server layers in the application. So now we'll add the parcels to the application. These demo parcels are up in the Redmond area around Microsoft's campus, so we'll just zoom into that location. And as we zoom in, you'll start to see those parcels appear. Now those parcels are a silver gray color like we set in MapDotNet Studio. So if you want to change the color of that, you have to go back into Studio and update the color and save your map there. So finally, I'll add a WMS layer. So the WMS layer, basically just take a WMS URL and paste it into the application, give it a label, and you can set the zoom scale, you can set opacity, whether it's visible in the layer legend manager by default. So finally, we'll add the weather feed layer here, and I'll zoom out and show you the weather feed WMS right on the map. So that's a demo of 3 of the 4 layer types that we support in OpenIntel. The next demo that we do will showcase the grouped layer, and grouped layer is really handy when you're looking at different geographies that have the same data. For example, census data, where you have block groups and census tracts and county boundaries and state boundaries that all have the same data columns but different geographies, and you want to be able to zoom your map in and have the application switch between the different data geographies but maintain the same data column. And so we'll give a demo of group layers in the next video. So finally, just be sure to, if you want to play around with a live demo, you can visit it at this URL, and you can focus on GitHub here. Thanks for taking the time to watch this.